Luke and I married in 2007 and bought our first home in a little under a year. It was a beautiful, adorable little 1920s craftsman bungalow on a quarter acre right in the middle of town where we lived. This is where I first thought about decorating a home. Now, when I was a kid, I did have my own bedroom as a teenager. I shared with my sisters most of my life. We lived in an old farmhouse, but we eventually lived in a new build, and my grandma was so generous. I told her I always wanted my own bedroom, and she took it upon herself to pay to have 2 bedrooms and a bathroom put down in the basement. We had a nice walkout basement in our ranch style home. So I did have my own space to decorate. And when I was a teenager, that looked like posters and painting the walls lavender and filling every square inch of the walls with pictures and trying to be creative. So I did have that experience, but it was taken to another level entirely when we bought our very own home. At that time, I didn't realize that I loved old homes. We really were just looking for something that was in our budget, which was quite low. But as you all know, if you're over the age of 25, there was a huge financial crisis right before we purchased our first home. So we were able to get quite a nice home in our budget, and it happened to be an old house. We looked at some new houses as well, and I could imagine how we could put our stamp on those and decorate them. But I'm so happy that even though I didn't necessarily have an opinion on whether the house was old or new, we ended up with a home that was pushing 100 years old. I do think that living there for almost 11 years is what made me realize how much I loved homes. I loved interiors, decorating them, and really appreciated historic character that led me on the journey to where I am today when it comes to designing my home. Now, that first home was not a farmhouse, but I grew up on a farm and I love a rural country lifestyle. And so I was dreaming about living on a farm someday, maybe having goats and a big garden and plenty of space to roam and raise our children. So I thought of our house as a farmhouse. I even started a blog at that time and called it Farmhouse on Boone because that little house was on Boone Street. It wasn't actually a farmhouse, but I think of it more as a lifestyle than necessarily where it is. So I decorated that house like a farmhouse. We had a huge garden in the back. It was a small lot, but most of that backyard was a garden. We had chickens back there. I would go outside barefoot and line dry the clothes, and I learned how to bake bread in that home, set out bowls of eggs and fruit and potatoes and onions, and just make it feel like a home in the country. I didn't know exactly what that meant or what that would look like, but slowly and surely created that feeling in that home, and I absolutely loved it. I would say at that time, I definitely decorated the house more like a modern farmhouse because that is what was popular at that time. That is what I looked at when I would get on Pinterest or look around in magazines. That home was even featured in a couple of magazines because of its trendy modern farmhouse style, which is a lot of black and white, a lot of wood, some industrial elements when it comes to the light fixtures. Even though I don't decorate my home in that style today, I found it a very easy one to get my feet wet in the world of design. Now, I don't consider myself a designer. This is just something that I love for myself and in my own home. It's something I'm forever interested in, looking at books about, looking online, watching YouTube tours like Homeworthy and so many others. I just love homes and I love interiors. And when I first got married, I didn't have a clue what that would look like. And I definitely didn't have a lot of budget to work with. At that time, of course, Chip and Joanna Gaines were really popular, and the style that they showed was actually really easy for someone who was new to decorating, because if you whitewash everything, add in maybe a little bit of blue or green, do a lot of black, you can make a space look better and put together. And it worked really well for that season of life. In our first house, I did a lot of sewing to really hone in on this relaxed country style. I slip covered chairs and some thrifted couches. I made a lot of curtains and decorated with garage sale finds. One of my best finds, I was driving down Boone Street and someone had a farmhouse sink sitting out in a yard sale. I'm pretty sure I paid $30 for it, and that made such an adorable sink to make it have an authentic old farmhouse feel. And I continued to do that to collect for our space. Eventually, we did find an old home on some acreage where we could really live that country lifestyle. And I started craving a bit more color, an interior with a little bit more character and soul, adding lots of antiques and art and layers and collections. And I spent the next several years developing that style and collecting things for it. After living in that home for 4 or 5 years, we started dreaming about building a new old house and drawing on years of experience of living in old houses, observing their details, and building on the collected country look that I love so much. Over the course of the years designing and building this house, I could not wait to decorate it, and now that is all happening and it is so much fun. As a woman, a lot of complex health issues can arise when it comes to hormones, weight, skin, and perimenopause, especially as we age. Since every person and every situation is different, it's important to have personalized care. Like, did you know testosterone is one of the least tested hormones when it comes to women's health? Most women are never even screened for it, even though it plays a role in energy, mood, and strength. That's where MIDI Health, the sponsor of today's video, comes in. MIDI is a virtual care clinic on a mission to bring personalized, compassionate, high-quality medical care to women covered by insurance. MIDI treats women in all stages of life with a variety of health concerns ranging from perimenopause to menopause to weight and more. Every care plan is unique to the individual based on symptoms and health history. MIDI focuses on a holistic approach, addressing solutions like supplements and lifestyle coaching, as well as hormonal and non-hormonal medications. As a busy mom, I have a difficult time getting into the doctor's office, but with MIDI, I was able to enjoy a virtual, no-rush visit from the comfort of my home. Unlike going to a regular doctor where you have to drive there and wait for a while in the office, MIDI is super convenient. You can work with your MIDI clinician to get any of the labs you need and make a treatment plan that will work for you, all from your couch at home. Also, MIDI is accepted by major insurance places in all 50 states. If you're looking for personalized, compassionate care covered by insurance, then click my link below to book your first MIDI visit. Again, thank you so much, MIDI, for sponsoring today's video. One of the projects I am working on today is making some cafe curtains for our 4 kitchen windows. Now, in the past, I would have got online and searched for some of my tried and true trusted fabrics. Solid linen, linen check, linen stripe, but I'm trying to branch a little bit away from that modern farmhouse style and add a little bit more personality and character. And I thought this fabric was absolutely perfect. It's a reclaimed find. So these were curtains before, but they were pleated floor to ceiling curtains, and I wanted to turn them into cafe curtains. Now, I played around with leaving the pleats. I actually originally planned to leave the pleats and even bought more pleat tape, but after actually putting them up, it just had too formal of a feel. I wanted the kitchen to feel breezy and casual, relaxed, and these clips worked so much better. So I ripped off that pleat tape. I know some of you are going to not like that, I'm sure. It's the internet. Some of you are going to be offended by that. And clipped on some little rings to give it that feel, and I love how it turned out. Over the last couple months, I've picked up a lot more different antique and thrift finds, so I wanted to share with you a little bit of an antique haul. I found a really adorable basket and a couple of different sets of candlesticks. One of the pairs is marble, and I almost passed it by. But because I have been looking in all of my design books lately, kind of training my eye to look for things that maybe before I wouldn't have picked up, just those little details that seem to make all the difference in designers' homes. I've also noticed in a lot of my design books that little tabletop frames look really great on every flat surface. So I'm trying to collect those, especially ones in unique shapes, to start to add layers and personality just all throughout our home. I have a whole tote of photos down in the basement because the photos from our wedding and from my oldest couple of children's lives aren't stored digitally anywhere. They're actually physical pictures, and I had so much fun looking through them to put them in these small frames and on display. It'd been a while since I'd looked through our wedding photos. also picked up this ironstone pitcher, and I took some of the design books that I have stashed away in a bookshelf, the marble candle holders, a little framed print that was down in the basement, put it all together to create this little entryway. Funny, I've been putting this off, but as soon as I found the perfect cabinet for it, the rest of it really came together. We also recently added this little antique French pine wall cabinet. I've been wanting to put something in this space. It just felt a little too uncluttered, believe it or not. I felt like this kitchen has a lot of space and I want more places for my eye to land. And I wanted something wood like this. A friend of mine found this, and I think it's the perfect piece. It locks. And so we've been really enjoying it. We were making pizzas the other day and my daughter put the bacon in there because when we're making bacon, we can never keep any until dinner time because everybody comes by and grabs it. So this is the lock box for all the things that we want on the counter, but we don't want flies to get or kids to pick at. It's the perfect piece for here. We also found a new cabinet for the top of the stairs that works better as a bookshelf than the one we previously had here. I needed something in the boys' room between the windows because we read kid books to them and they just get scattered everywhere. So now the cabinet that was here at the top of the second floor is now in the boys' room. So shuffling things around, making things work. Houses really do evolve and change over time. I like having a vision of what I want it to feel like, which I pick up by looking at a lot of design books, and then slowly edit the things that I bring in, move things around, add new things. It's an ever-changing process, but one that I very much enjoy. One thing that I've been putting off, I don't know why, I just really overthought this, was a gallery wall up the stairs. So I had a whole pile of frames and different art down in the basement that I knew I could eventually put together into some sort of gallery wall here for the staircase going from the first to the second floor. Now, eventually I want to do a gallery wall going from the second floor up to the attic space, but I thought it was finally time to just do this one way or the other. Even if everything isn't perfect right now, which it definitely isn't, I hung up some completely empty because I don't know what art to put in there yet, but I just wanted to get the basic structure of this gallery wall down. Now, I was going for a black, green, wood, and gold theme just because that's what a lot of the frames I have are. So I painted one of my frames with rub and buff. I put in some black and white photos. I have some drawings. I have a few landscapes that kind of fit in nicely. I also have this black and white city scene that I don't necessarily love, but again, the structure is now going to be up so I can swap art out. I have the sizes all determined, so I can print photos of the family or find and collect art, maybe do different mats, maybe even paint some of the mats. Sometimes you just have to get started or you'll continue, I will continue to overthink it. I'll want it perfect. And really sometimes you just need to devote an hour thinking about it and doing it instead of thinking I'll do this someday. So that was today's project. That was something that I told myself, I am not putting this off anymore. Yes, we can add different mats. We can paint the mats. I can add different art, but I have to move forward on this thing that I've been thinking about for so long for some reason. I recently did pick up these landscape prints in the green frames. It was a Facebook Marketplace find. A friend of mine found the black and white framed art prints. So I had enough to finally get this gallery wall up in some way, shape, or form. Now, in our last house, when I was doing a gallery wall, I put up paper versions up the staircase so that way you can kind of see where it was, but with tape without having to put a bunch of holes in the wall. This time, again, I was overthinking it. I needed to just get them up onto the wall. So I started with some of the biggest pieces and used those as the bottom. And I just followed the slant of the staircase and kind of added in as I was going. And there's still some room for adding more if I come across a shape that will fit in nicely. But to get those big pieces kind of in place and then build on it, it really honestly worked better than thinking the entire thing through before starting. One space in our home that we were all very excited to decorate, my teenage daughters and I, is attic space that we plan to make into a sewing room. We brought a lot of things from our previous house, which when you look at this new house and you might think, oh, you have so many things, so many antiques and rugs. That's because I've been collecting for a lot of years and just brought a lot of the things from our previous houses to here. It has been, 18 years since 2008 when we bought our first house. So a lot of time has passed where I could build on some of these collections. So for this space, we brought in art from our previous house and lamps and a rug and a couch, various desks and furniture. We have a desk that Luke's grandpa made. We have some other tables that I gathered from who knows where, and baskets. We had high hopes for this space. Up until a couple of weeks ago, everything was just sitting in boxes. And my daughters kept saying, okay, we need to get this piece, we need to get that piece in order to make this space function. And I told them what we need to do is just focus on this room this week and stop thinking when we find this perfect piece, we will make this space function right. I think that's one enemy of a home that feels beautiful and functional and collected, is wanting it to be perfect instead of ever evolving and changing. And so both my daughters took that and ran with it. That very same day, they got on Facebook Marketplace. They found one piece that really was the catalyst for working on this room. It was an apothecary type of cabinet that they could arrange all of their different sewing notions and patterns and all the different trims and all that. And from there, they just shopped the house. They both got pretty excited about it and just started going around the house, like grabbing art that was down in the basement that we hadn't put up yet and taking some of their thrifted and vintage finds and hanging it on the wall. They even took a couple things that I was like, hey, where's that lamp? I need that lamp. It's missing now out of the boys' room. They had to put a few things back. But it was a true example of shopping the house, using what you have, moving things around, which needs to happen a lot when it comes to decorating a house. What functions really well in a certain space, in one house or in one room, in a different season or a different house might work better somewhere else. So for example, there are some paintings on the wall that I found years ago on Facebook Marketplace that worked really well in one of our bedrooms at our last farmhouse. Then when we moved into a different bedroom, didn't work as well. And then they were in our bedroom at the house in town, but then they were in the basement here. And I didn't really have a place for them. They look wonderful up here. So a lot of times you might have more things than you think, and some things just need to be shifted around and displayed. Like the girls made a beautiful corset. It was very detailed, took a ton of time. Putting that on display in the sewing room makes sense. Putting some of their thrifted finds that were maybe stashed in a closet on the wall, in a gallery, putting out baskets with some of their prettiest fabric. A little attention in 1 week made all the difference, and it'll be evolving and changing. No room is ever fully done. Well, if this is the first time landing on this video, my name is Lisa. I'm a mother of 9. We just moved into our farmhouse 3 months ago. We built it from scratch. We made it look old, and I'm having so much fun decorating it. There'll be a lot more projects to come. I also make a lot of from scratch food, a lot of sourdough, and I hope you hit that subscribe button. All right, well, thank you so much for stopping by our farmhouse.